All right, what's going on, YouTube? It's Yes, aka Big Dumper, and I'm back again with another video. This one is going to be a little bit different. I figured, so I started playing on the site in November, and I've played around 20k hands. I just hit that threshold earlier this week, and I figure I would go over my results with y'all over the 20k hands, even though it's like almost like a meaningless sample. And talk about like my current poker schedule, and then review two different hands really quickly without any sort of like GTO analysis, just going over the hands and maybe getting some feedback from y'all on them. So I guess I'll start with the results. And for all of you volume guys who actually grind full-time online, just turn the video off now, because I already know that, in before, 20k hands is meaningless. I get it, but for me, for someone who plays in their spare time, it's like a reasonable sample. It takes a while to accrue a certain amount of hands. So what I'm going to start doing is just going over like 10k samples. So like every 10,000 hands, I'll look at my overall results, and I'll show you the results over those last 10,000 hands. So for this one, it's been 20,000 hands, and so far this is just my 100 NL sample. I've filtered out everything that's 200, or to the best of my ability. And right now, pre-rake back, so global offers around 30. I think global offers flat 30% rake back for ring game players. And pre-rake back, I'm up about 32 buy-ins. So this is 100 NL, so $1 blinds. I'm up 3,200 over those 20k hands. And then post-rake back, we're looking at 3,600. So I've generated quite a bit in rake, and like we could calculate how much rake I've generated later, like how many BB per 100 I'm paying in rake. But I think it's somewhere between, like, I don't know, like it'd have to be like close to 6 BB or something like that. Anyway, my win rates over those samples are definitely not sustainable, but they are pretty nice to look at, and I have been running pretty hot, so I figure I'd share this with y'all. And this is like just a couple things to note about my sample. I do not game select at all. I've been playing a certain amount of volume, just like heads up. So I open sit a lot of the 100 tables, and I'll play like whoever. So if any of you want to drop down and play me at 100, be my guest. I more play just for the, like, obviously I play to win, but my mindset surrounding poker lately has been just playing, trying to play the best that I can, and playing like whoever, like preferably like reasonable competition, or like opponents. So yeah, like it's hard for me to get volume in. I'm just playing reg tables, and at any given time, the most amount of tables I'm playing is 3. Like the difference between 3 and 4 for me is really significant, whereas like the difference between 2 and 3 tables is like negligible in terms of like my playing ability, like how well I play. So anyway, that's enough yammering about this. I guess maybe I'll give you guys a little bit about my current poker schedule, so you guys can know like what a 20k sample kind of looks like for me. So like the first thing is like I play 3 tables tops, so 3 tables max. Some heads up, I'll play like a little bit of heads up versus other 100 NL, like some other 100 NL regs, and then like usually it's recreationals that will come and sit my game. The shitty part about global is that like the moment a rec sits my table, all the other bum hunters start filtering in. So it's a little bit frustrating. I requested in the Discord that they add heads up tables, but there's a lot of pushback from regs, just talking about how that's awful for the ecosystem, etc. I say add them. This poker is like a competitive game. Like maybe some of you who are doing this for a living, you really should prioritize bum hunting and playing like the weakest, softest opponents possible. But it really, it hurts the spirit of the game in a lot of ways. That's at least my opinion, where it's like, it should be like, you should try and look at it like more of like, as like a sport. Anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent about, kind of pointless shit. I play 3 tables. I'll play 2 to 3 hour sessions. And throughout the week, it'll be like 10 to 20 hours total. So it's usually on the lower end, if I'm being honest with you. And I've had to take some weeks off recently just because of like some really hard life stuff that's been going on. And I spend maybe, I want to say 4 to 6 hours per week studying. So this is like not as dedicated. Like my study sessions are not really as dedicated. So like as far as studying is concerned, like a lot of it is like, really common spots. So common spots or configurations, I should say. But it's mainly I'm interested in. And then I'll do like hand history, like deep dive. And these hand history deep dives are a lot of fun for me. Like this is like where I start getting a lot out of studying. And like an important thing is like I'll go into a hand history or a hand that I've played, and I'll think about my logic in certain spots or why I've done certain things. That's sort of the purpose of these playing explains as well, is like I go rewatch them, and if I see like maybe my thought process was like missing something that I recognize now, I could sort of take note of that. Or I think to myself, like, why did I miss that in game? Or like, why am I thinking like that? So it offers me some insight into like my own strategy, and you could sort of like I don't know. That's like how I really gain a lot of like understanding about things, I feel like. So not that I'm like this wizard by any means at all. In fact, I played quite poorly most of the time. But I get a lot out of these like hand history deep dives. And I think you have to go in with the mindset like, okay, I think like you have this idea, and then you go, like you have this idea about like what's happening in a certain spot, and you can try and apply it to other spots and see if it's like a heuristic or if it's sort of specific to like a configuration. But I would say mainly just try and make some of those things like more of like a heuristic type analysis. So anyway, that is enough about studying. Did I want to add anything else? No, not really. Oh, I no playing when I'm tired. When I'm tired, I play horrible. So no playing when tired. And I'm tired quite often, so that's why it's like if I'm, it's the end of the day, I'll tend to avoid getting a session in. Maybe I'll study. That'll be it. So this is sort of like my routine. This is a pretty lax routine as far as I'm concerned. Like maybe 10 to 15 hours a week, on average. And then on weeks where I'm really like into poker, I'll put in like 20 hours, right? Because this is just what I do in my free time. Like it's what I enjoy. So why don't we finish the video off with, some hand histories here, and you guys can let me know what you think about these spots. Let me see what this one. Okay, so this one is four-handed, or it looks like five-handed. So this button is inaccurate. So here are the blinds. This one seat, I'll call him, like this guy down here, he's the button. I've opened the hijack, and the big blind calls. We get a queen 6-5 flop, so my opponent checks, and I just had to check this back. So you could definitely mix this. I don't know if range betting is necessarily the best strategy on these types of boards. You're going to have a lot of hands that mix. We're also, I guess that's kind of like a counter argument. Like, we're super deep, so if you bet this and you get check raised, like you'll always really, like, you're totally fine continuing with the call. Like, you could even 3-bet sometimes, I'm sure, drawing to the nuts. But we decided to check back this time, and we see like a 6 of clubs turn, and our opponent checks again. And this is the type of turn where I expect quite a lot of stabbing from my opponent. And the reason being is, like, I think this player was a reg, in case I didn't specify that at the beginning of the hand. But the reason that you'd expect a lot of stabbing on this card is, like, it's like perceivably like a good card for the big blind, right? Like, I think that this is at least the level that a regular would be thinking on, is like, this is perceivably a nice card for the big blind. Like, if I had some sort of hand, I would want to start putting money in, because I don't think this card is going to get reopened that often by the imposition player, who's the hijack. So my opponent checks, and when my opponent checks, and this is sort of the thought process that I've assigned him, it makes a lot of sense for me to start betting my hand. Like, I don't even necessarily need to bet it for like as a bluff. It's sort of like pushing equity. So I've made this 3/4 pot wager, and my opponent decides to check raise, and this is where I'm like thinking, like, okay, just based on timing, based on this specific turn card, like, this line is full of shit. So no way am I folding my hand right now. He's basically saying, like, I had a 6 that I've trapped. I'm sort of like checking my 6 because I think that you'll reopen the action at least enough for this to be a play for me, for this to be a play that makes sense. So I go ahead and continue with a call, and we get the 7 of hearts river, and we face a pretty large overbet here. So yeah, I'm not considering folding, but I was considering raising. However, I think we're slightly too deep, and this line is like a little bit too polar. Like, at this point they're saying I have a flush plus, right? Like, I have something that's either a flush or better. And I guess, like, if they've check raised the turn and they've already sort of implied that they've had a 6, it's more likely that this is a full house. So I decided to just call here. You guys can tell me. I mean, we get the showdown. So this is like ace three of spades, which is I think like a high frequency 3-bet pre-flop from the big blind in this configuration, at least with the ranges I play, like the deeper ranges. But also doesn't really make all that much sense to check raise on the turn. Like, really shit removal. So it's just kind of like an airball hand. This is like sort of indicating like they're doing this either nonsensically, or like maybe they're just like way over bluffing this spot or something. But yeah, thought that this was an interesting hand to show down, but also thought my call was a little bit nitty. So you guys will have to let me know what you think about that. And then on to this second hand. I think this one's a little bit more interesting. So we open the button, and a recreational player in the big blind 3-bets us to 7 big blinds. Sorry, my dog was barking. We continue with a call. It makes, this is just way too small of a size for me to be folding anything. So we continue with a call. We get the Jack 9-3 two-tone board, and my opponent goes ahead and checks. Here we go. So my opponent checks, and this hand, I sort of anticipate like fish check raising this, at least like at like sort of like an equilibrium frequency, but yeah, like I have a hand that's basically like a showdown hand. Like I can put money in, but I don't want to put a ton of money in with this, given like this range is likely a little bit stronger than it should be. So I have to check back. We get the queen turn, so we've turned 2 pair, and my opponent checks again. So another benefit from checking back that I considered was like I cooler a hand like ace queen, and stuff like that. And if they're slow playing like aces or kings, I've sort of minimized the amount of money I put in against that range. And like I said, like this big blind 3-bet range is likely stronger than it would be in theory. But on this turn, I've certainly feel pretty good about my hand, and I decide to use this 3/4 pot size, and my opponent calls. So river is the 8 of diamonds, and this is, pretty shit card, but I don't expect my opponent to have all that much 10x in this line. Like I think a lot of the 10x would either, bet the turn, like delay c-bet the turn, or c-bet the flop, or check raise the turn, etc. But instead, we get this 20 big blind donk. So it's a little bit over half pot, and I was a little bit conflicted on what to do versus this size. I think you almost always have to call versus recreational players, but you guys can let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. So that is what we ended up doing. We ended up calling, and we lost to the old ace 10 of clubs. So kind of an annoying river spot, but you will have to let me know what you think. I'm going to wrap the video up here, and I will catch you guys in the next one. The next one will likely be another Play and Explain, and then at the end of the week, I'm going to start doing like 3 videos a week. One's going to be like this. One's going to be like a Play and Explain, and the other one is going to be like, 3 biggest mistakes or 3 worst hands I played of the week or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend.